Good morning to all of you. International Network of Hearts welcomes you to the virtual forum named Learn How to Protect Kids from Dangers Online. And before we start, we'd like to give a special thanks to Good Universidad for providing this great platform. Also, thanks to all of our sponsors. My name is Estefania Baez. I'm a news anchor and reporter in the Tijuana-San Diego border region. Also, I have been a volunteer at International Network of Hearts for over 3 years now. International Network of Hearts is a nonprofit organization founded in 2010 that brings communities and governments together to help rescue women and children from human trafficking and sexual violence. 70% of child sex trafficking victims are sold online, and according to the FBI, there are approximately 750,000 predators online at any given time. 43% of kids ages 8 to 12 are talking to strangers online. This is why today, in commemoration of World Day Against Human Trafficking, we are going to learn by experts how to protect kids from dangers online. Why do we commemorate this day? Well, the World Day Against Human Trafficking was proclaimed by the United Nations as a way for individuals and organizations to come together around the world and speak up against human trafficking. Today, we take this opportunity to educate ourselves, our community, and everyone we come in contact with. Human trafficking is a serious crime and an extreme violation of human rights. Every year, hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children fall into the hands of traffickers in their own countries and abroad. Nearly every country is affected by trafficking, whether as a country of origin, transit, or destination for victims. And our region is not an exception. The San Diego-Tijuana border region is actually considered one of the most visited borders in the world, with great tourist attractions on both sides, but also a major problem with human trafficking. Every day in every country, human traffickers exploit innocent lives for their own profit. The poor and the vulnerable are most at risk. Over 70% of detected trafficking victims are women and girls, while nearly 1/3 are children. COVID-19 has amplified trafficking dangers, loss of jobs, growing poverty, school closures, and a rise in online interactions and increasing vulnerabilities and opening opportunities for organized crime groups. This crisis has overwhelmed social and public services, impacted the work of law enforcement and criminal justice systems, and made it harder for victims to seek help. Now, I would like to present the person responsible for having us today all gathered, Alma Tucker. She is a former investigative officer for the Child Protection Unit with the Mexican Consulate General in Mexico. She is the founder and president of International Network of Hearts based in San Diego and Tijuana, Mexico. Alma Tucker has had over 20 years of experience assisting victims of human trafficking and advocating for their rights within the border region of Tijuana, Mexico, and San Diego. Alma is also the founder of La Casa del Jardín, the only group homes in Baja California designed for children and young adults who survived human trafficking. Before I pass the microphone to her, I would like to ask her, what motivated you, Alma, to start International Network of Hearts?
Thank you so much, Estefania. Thank you for that question. And thank you for everyone who is here joining us in this important conference. A special thank you for the Consul General of Mexico in San Diego, and to everybody who is listening, and my friends and colleagues. I learned about the subject of human trafficking working in the Mexican consulate in San Diego. I learned how difficult it is to identify victims and provide the right services for survivors of human trafficking. One particular case impacted my life. A 14-year-old and was rescued, trying to come and join family in the United States. The coyotes lied to her and told her that parents didn't pay the half of her dues, and she has to pay with her own body to the cost to come without documents to this country. I remember that morning like yesterday. I received a call from the Border Patrol and request my assistance to a 14-year-old. I arrived in the emergency room and in one of the local hospitals in San Diego, and I hear a little voice crying for mom. I reach up to her, I hold her hand, and I told her that I will not let her go until I can locate her parents and reunite them again. At that moment, I found my purpose in life. And I promised myself that either if I will not work longer with the Mexican consulate, I will find a way to be there with a little girl or boy or anybody needs services and support through these difficult moments. I share this with my family and closest friends, this inspiration. And we decide, once I retire from the Mexican consulate, to open an organization, International Network of Hearts in San Diego and Red Binacional de Corazones in Mexico. At that time, 2010, was no other organization in Baja California, and also no houses for provide services. Not too long after, we decided to open the first shelter for girls in 2013. It was amazing to see those girls, how they arrived to our shelters with so much embarrassed, so much sorrow. And I remember one particular case of a 10-year-old who was rescued thanks to a teacher in one classroom, then here our trainings. And when they arrived to our place, they were terrified. They want to attack. Imagine if somebody that you trust, like a mom, like a dad, like a boyfriend, use you and abuse you and they betrayed you. How can they trust us? They didn't. But with the program that we have in the Casa Jardín, in this program, they receive psychology treatment. Sometimes they need a psychiatric attention, medical attention, education, everything they receive in these shelters. And I remember after 6 months of treatment, this little girl came to me and said, Alma, before I came to this home, I didn't know I had rights. I thought about life was this, then I was living at home. But now that I'm here, I know that that was not right. Then I have rights. And that really encourages us to do and give us the power and the motivation to keep doing what we're doing. These two girls that were rescued a few months before, at that moment she told me, and I need you to rescue my brother. And I was surprised to hear that was a boy in that house too. They didn't say that before. But at that time, I said, well, we need to do something to rescue your brother too. 2 years after, took time, but 2 years after, a little boy was rescued and a little sister too. And this is why in 2018, we opened a second shelter, a shelter for boys. As you know, boys are the silent victims, but they also need treatment. I questioned myself so many times why so many men rape women, why so many men take advantage of women. And I hear in their stories, they also were abused and exploited, some of them. Well, we opened a shelter for boys in 2018, and we see these kids also, little by little, they're going healing, and soon they will be healthy to reintegrate to society as time comes. Thank you so much for joining us. It's still a lot to do. And these conferences are so important because only the education and be conscious about what's going on is the only way that we can fight against human trafficking. Thank you for joining us. And please give us a like in Facebook, Instagram, and join us. You also can do something. Once you know this is happening, how can you do nothing? I have to do something and I'm doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alma. Thanks for all this wonderful work that you've done. I think the world needs more people like you, definitely, definitely. Now, we'd like to hear from District Attorney's Office from San Diego, Summer Steffen. As a prosecutor, District Attorney Summer Steffen has been delivering justice for victims in crime in San Diego County for nearly 3 decades. She is recognized as a national leader in the fight against human trafficking and is a staunch advocate for protecting children and families. As the county's top law enforcement official, she leads an office about 1,000 employees who pursue fair and equal justice and keep San Diego one of the safest urban counties in the US. She's leading efforts to address the issue of homeless individuals and those with mental health challenges who come into contact with the criminal justice system. And Summer is also known for her balanced approach to public safety, which includes a progressive approach of providing second chances to low level offenders while still protecting public safety and supporting victims of crimes. Now, a message from District Attorney.
Hello, I'm San Diego County District Attorney Summer Steffen, and I am honored to join the International Network of Hearts and CUT Universidad on this International Day of Human Trafficking. And thank you for the work that they're doing to bring awareness and protection to victims of human trafficking. This has been my passion and a priority for the District Attorney's Office. The San Diego District Attorney's Office is the second largest in the state, and we have a dedicated unit that fights human trafficking every day. Human trafficking is the second largest criminal industry in the world, in the United States, and right here in San Diego County. The selling of human beings for sex and labor is so profitable that gangs, organized crime, and criminals have been engaged in it in years. And while the problem is global, the solutions are local. It is the ability to collaborate and work together to make sure that we have awareness, that we have prosecution, and that we also have places for our victims to be restored and to be able to live free lives and thrive. This priority is something that really affects the dignity of every child. It affects the dignity of our society. We cannot tolerate this modern day form of slavery and this way of exploiting our children. We know that in human trafficking, 1 in 4 of our victims are children. One of the things that was very alarming during the COVID pandemic is that predators really increased their activity online and their exploitation of our children online. This was an opportunity with schools closed because schools are eyes and ears, trusted adults where children can report and where signs can be detected. So while we saw that the mandated reporting went down, we saw this exploitation activity go up. The statistics are alarming. It's alarming that reports of technology-based exploitation has been reported at a triple-fold. The National Center of Missing and Exploited Children reported 3 times the exploitation numbers for children using the internet. In 2020, the San Diego Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force received 5,885 cyber tips related to technology-based exploitation. That's more than double the figure that was reported in 2019. It's difficult to detect signs of abuse and exploitation online, but it is worth it for parents and caretakers to educate yourselves on those signs to be able to spot the red flags. These red flags are common with some youth, adolescents, and children, and they should be taken seriously. The teenager or child may be acting secretive of their online activities, hiding what's on their computer screens, out of sight or behind a closed door when online, vague talk of making new friends with little to no details, agitated behavior when answering their phones or needing to take calls in private, sneaking out of the house, and untruthful about who they've been with and where they've been, dressing, wearing makeup to look older, getting home late, unexplained expensive gifts, money, or clothes. We also have some tips from the FBI that can help guide parents when they suspect activity or to just be alert to these activities. Here are some recommendations to parents from the FBI. Review and approve games and apps before they're downloaded. Make sure privacy settings are set to the strictest level possible for social media, online gaming systems, phones, and other devices. Monitor your child's use of the internet and keep computers in a non-private room. Explain to your child that images posted online most likely will remain on the internet permanently. Teach your child about personal boundaries and awareness of their surroundings. Encourage open child-parent communication around internet safety. You can find more tips and information on our website, sandiegoda.com, and search human trafficking. The San Diego District Attorney's Office has been fighting human trafficking on all fronts. We work collaboratively with the community that we serve and with providers that protect children in the community. We work with law enforcement in a 24/7 human trafficking task force that brings resources from multiple agencies and shares information to combat human trafficking. We've been very successful in shutting down and arresting traffickers and in bringing children to safety and to safe harbor. We're also working on the prevention end to make sure that there is education in our schools for every student to be able to build their resiliency, to understand the red flags, to understand how recruiters pose as a boyfriend, they pose as a friend, they pose as somebody who's going to extract them from poverty. We give them that information through a collective that we put place in San Diego County. We also work on massive awareness campaigns that reach millions of people with impressions, and that has resulted in increased reporting and increased awareness in our community. We have a dedicated human trafficking, sex crimes and human trafficking division with experienced prosecutors, investigators, and victim advocates that fight human trafficking every day in a trauma-informed and victim-centered manner. In the end, it is our collective love for justice and for protecting our children that is going to win, that is going to stop and abolish human trafficking. Thank you for all you do, and it's an honor to work with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind message, District Attorney Summer Stephanie. Of course, we're delivering justice for victims in San Diego, including human trafficking. Also, I would like to thank the presence of Ambassador Leah George, the Consulate of the United States of America. Thank you so much for being here. And also, now I would like to pass the microphone to Ambassador Carlos Gonzalez, Consulate of Mexico in San Diego. Good morning.
Muy buenos días, Estefanía. Muchas gracias. Good morning, everyone. My name is Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez, and I am the Consul General of Mexico in San Diego. Human trafficking is a transnational crime that can only be fought from a regional perspective. Collaboration among origin, transit, and destination countries is crucial to end with it. Mexico is signatory of the protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons. Our country is fully committed to punish human trafficking, as well as to create protocols for the protection of victims and promote preventive activities. The Mexican consular network, integrated by 50 offices all around the United States, provides the appropriate tools for assisting victims in their respective jurisdictions. Each consulate is able to provide legal counsel, economic aid, as well as other services to connect victims to the diverse services provided by our binational partners. I am convinced that the consular network is only as strong as the collaboration it is able to create with its partners and binational stakeholders. And I truly believe that here in San Diego, we are very fortunate to have a very strong binational community that supports the work of this consulate. In this World Day Against Human Trafficking, I want to recognize federal, state, and local authorities for their work in this matter, as well as the organizations dedicated to the fight against human trafficking. Special thanks to Alma Tucker de la Red Binacional de Corazones. She has performed an important job regarding awareness around this very important matter, and she is strengthening the fight against human trafficking through its network. I am lucky as well to count with extraordinary partners from this side of the border, such as District Attorney Summer Stephan, who is leading the battle in San Diego County. The fight against human trafficking is far from over. I have no doubt that together we are taking the right steps to get sooner to its end. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias, Consul Carlos González. Thank you so much, Ambassador, Consul General of Mexico in San Diego. Now, I would like to introduce the speaker of the day. I remind you, if you have any questions, please write them in this chat, and at the end of our speaker presentation, we will read all of them. So Lynette Brem started her career in Los Angeles at Univision Communications, where she had the great fortune of working with El Buki, Marco Antonio Solís. She also worked with Azteca America and the popular show La Academia. After many fast-paced years in LA, she missed her home and her home state and moved back to Texas to be a Spanish teacher and be close to her family. Most recently, she worked in the field of cybersecurity, where she saw firsthand the dark side of the internet and the tremendous threat that represents to our children and families by online criminals who want to cause us harm. All of this and the fact that she's a single mom of a 10-year-old boy that loves technology, she's dedicated the last years to the mission of educating communities how to protect their family from dangers online and to eliminate the risk of becoming a victim. Welcome, Lynette.
Thank you so much. I really thank Alma and the International Network of Hearts and CUT Universidad for putting together this event. I also want to share with you my connection with Spanish and the Hispanic culture. My grandmother was from San Luis Potosí, Mexico, and in college I really wanted to learn about my Mexican roots, and so I studied Spanish at La Universidad de Michoacán in Morelia and also at el TEC de Monterrey. So just wanted to mention that before we start today. Let me share my screen real quick so you can see my slides. Can you see the slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So today, some of what we will talk about is quite alarming when it comes to sexual exploitation, but I think we have to remember that today, because of the use of the internet, so much of trafficking begins online, and many times while a child is at home on their device. So I will make some recommendations on how to keep your family safe. Please use what works for you and for your family values. Because of today's very, mature topic and the sensitive nature of it, if you have children around, I recommend that you listen with headphones, or if you can, go to the next room. So what are we going to talk about today? So first of all, we'll look at the new stranger danger, the new threat to kids online, and really how prevalent sexual predators are online, why the internet is the new playground for predators. And we'll talk about the strategies predators use to groom kids for exploitation, so you can watch for those. I'll also share with you some good tips on how to talk to your kids about these very difficult subjects. I'll review some parental controls that are critical in the house and give you a link of how to stay informed. So I like to start with how things used to be. So when we were growing up, to me, this picture represents very much how life was like. You know, you were probably outside most of the day, running around, riding your bike or skateboard or playing soccer. And for many of us, you know, you didn't come home until you were hungry or until it was dark outside. And this was the life of a kid. And what parents were really good about doing was teaching kids about strangers. So every kid was taught by a parent or a teacher to watch out for strangers, taught what to do if approached by a stranger. And as parents, you probably had these conversations with your own kids to help keep them safe. But today we have a new reality. And for many parents and for many families, this is what life looks like for kids and teens. Children are spending less time outdoors and more time indoors on their electronic devices. And although your kids are inside the house, sitting, you know, with their friends, or they could be at grandparents' house, if your child is on the internet, the stranger did not go away and the danger did not go away. In fact, kids are more at risk today and they're more vulnerable to being preyed upon by sexual predators when they go on the internet. Every time a kid goes online, they are potentially putting themselves in the most dangerous neighborhood in the world, one click away from harmful content and being solicited by a trafficker or a predator. And so many studies have been done about the incredible amount of hours that teens and kids are spending online. You know, whether they're on a cell phone, a video game, a Chromebook, or an iPad, these numbers are staggering. And this doesn't count the time that they're online or on devices at school doing schoolwork. This represents their personal time online. And these figures actually were pre-COVID. So my suspicion is they could be even higher with COVID and of course in the summertime with more kids online. So why is this an issue? Well, because the kids are not the only ones online. Sexual predators are also online. And according to the FBI, at any given time, over 750,000 predators are online seeking their next victim. And what you have to remember is that 750,000 predators, they probably have multiple fake profiles that they're using to lure kids. They're looking for kids and teens, boys, girls, any ethnicity. They know that kids are online pretty much without adult supervision. And so that's why the internet has been called the new playground for sexual predators. So let's look briefly, why can the internet be so risky for kids? We have to remember, first of all, that the internet was never made for children. When it was originally made back in the 1980s, it was made to share information between college kids and adults. So the safety of kids was never really considered. And no one could have imagined that today kids would be spending most of their day online. The second thing is the internet is just risky by design. If you can think about a Google search, when you have that white page in front of you where you can do a search, whatever you ask Google, it will give you an answer. And sometimes the answer that it gives you can open up a pathway to inappropriate and harmful content. Well, consider a curious child who's curious about topics such as sex, pornography, suicide, self-harm, how to get high. Whatever they could be curious about, it's easy to search, and within seconds, kids can access inappropriate and harmful content and explicit videos. So the other reason why the internet can be so risky is that internet laws are antiquated and not designed to protect kids. So child sexual abuse material, also known as pornography, is exchanged freely on social media platforms, and tech companies are not held accountable for what's being viewed on their platform because of how the federal law is written. So many apps don't verify the user age, so kids can easily gain access by lying about their age. And finally, the secretive nature of the internet is easy for predators to take advantage of to hide their identities to lure their victims. So let's compare these two worlds, the physical world and the virtual world. Here we have a picture of a playground, a predator, and two kids. Now in this physical world, the predator has to be careful. They have to be cautious not to spook the child, so the child runs off to find an adult. He must work to gain the child's trust and also watch for other adults who might blow his cover. Now, from the perspective of the child, in the physical world, the child can very quickly identify a predator as a man, an adult, not a peer, someone that they don't know. And depending on the abilities of the child, they can use social cues, see facial expressions, and very importantly, use their intuition to assess the situation. But in the online world, things are different. In the online world, the predator does not look like a predator. The predator uses a false identity, a fake profile that is similar in age to the victim. The predator does not have to be cautious because their real identity is hidden. In fact, many parents and teens have shared with me that from their very first online interaction with a sexual predator, the predator will send an explicit message, nude photos, and videos. Now, from the child's point of view online, the child doesn't see a real picture of the predator. They don't have the benefit of looking the person in the eye. All they see is a fake picture or an avatar like the one pictured on the screen. And the child often thinks the person is a peer or a friend, someone like them. And if the child is contacted through their favorite video game or their favorite social media app, they may not be suspicious that this person could be dangerous. So given that this is the environment that kids are navigating online, it's no wonder that we're seeing these alarming rates that the district attorney talked about. So let's look at some statistics about kids and strangers online. So 40% of kids grades 4 through 8 are talking with strangers online. And 53% of those kids gave their phone number to a stranger. So can you imagine if a child was at a park and gave their phone number to a total stranger? It really doesn't seem possible, but in the online world where there's secrecy, things really aren't what they seem, and children feel more comfortable to share personal information. 30% of the kids are texting a stranger, and it's not on the screen, but 11% of those kids actually try and meet the stranger in person. Now, I know that some of you listening might be saying to yourself, well, but that's not my kid. That would never happen to my kid. My child knows better. I have a good kid. She makes straight A's, or he's involved with the track team. We go to church. But I'm here to tell you that this affects all kids at some point. Even if your child doesn't go looking for a predator or doesn't go looking for harmful content, it will find them. Something will pop up on their device, and out of curiosity, they'll start to engage. And that's why we as parents and concerned adults have to be aware and involved. Now, I have a story to tell. These predators know that your kids are online 6 to 9 hours a day, and they have entire communities that are set up dedicated to seeking out kids, bullying them online to send inappropriate pictures, and they're sharing these pictures and these videos back and forth. And I picked this picture right here for several reasons. First of all, this child is in his room, alone on the internet. The child is physically in what should be, in most cases, the safest place, his own room. But there's likely no supervision happening. And if the Wi-Fi in the house or the computer is not set up to block certain content, He can go anywhere on the internet and he can talk to anyone. It's completely wide open to pornography, illegal, and abusive content. So again, in the physical world, he should be okay. But in the virtual world, he could be in a dangerous situation. The other scary thing about this picture is that this laptop probably has a video camera. Now, just like our cell phones and our Chromebooks have cameras, as soon as that predator establishes a two-way communication with the child, they will start coercing and demanding inappropriate pictures, and then pictures lead to explicit videos. There was a story of a girl that the predator convinced her to go to the bathroom with her cell phone and videotape herself abusing herself, all while the parents were right outside the door in the next room. The predator knew that the parents would not enter the bathroom while the door was closed to give her privacy. So this was a successful trick on the part of the predator. That's why I recommend never to allow devices in the bathroom or devices in the bedroom with the door closed. So how do predators groom kids? Well, first of all, how do they find their victims? Well, it's very simple. If a child is using an app, so are the predators. And it doesn't matter what the app is. It could be a video game, a social media app, a music app. If the kids are using it today, and if they're using it a year from now, predators will also. And people ask me sometimes, well, what do they look for in their victims? Well, every child and every teen that has access to the internet is at risk for this type of exploitation. But there are certain strategies that a predator will use to groom the child, and we'll talk about that now. The predator will search through social media posts, comments, chat rooms as a starting point with that child. They will look for posts like, I hate school. No one likes me. I'm so depressed. My parents suck and I want to run away. You know, this is the worst day ever. My girlfriend broke up with me. And these are things that kids and teens, they post online regularly. Now, they may not be sharing them with you, but they are sharing them online. And so what the predator will do is he'll use those comments as an initial place to start a conversation to gain the trust of your child. Now, keep remembering this profile of the predator does not look like the predator. It is a fake profile and it looks like a boy or girl that is similar in age to your child. And the predator will work weeks, even months to gain the trust of your child, as if they're a friend. And many teens even report making a good connection with the friend before the online exploitation happens. The predator will also appeal to your child's emotions. So in the example, a child might post, my parents suck, I want to run away. The predator will appeal to that feeling of not being understood, but the predator will claim to understand. So here's where I want to pause and mention that if you have a child or if you care for a child that has special needs, or might be a child that is prone to depression or has trouble making friends, they are more at risk at grooming because for them, the internet is a place to belong. The internet is a place to seek people like them and to fit in, where at school they might feel like they're out of place. So we have to watch those children even more closely and be even more involved with them. The other telling sign of a predator is the predator will give comments and be overly interested in your child. They'll say things like, you look so pretty, you're the prettiest of your friends, because of course the child has personal pictures posted along with their profile. So the predator will use those pictures to pretend that they know the child. And during this phase, the predator might also offer gifts. Now, there's a story of a 13-year-old athlete who was being recognized online for her accomplishments, something that is very common. And it caught the attention of a verified influencer on Instagram. This coach but this person posing to be a coach contacted her with promises of professional training and future scholarships. And after a month of online communication back and forth, the teen wanted to meet the trainer in person, thinking she was going to an amazing opportunity, but the parents were suspicious and said no. The teen threatened to run away, and so the parents got the authorities involved, and luckily the predator was caught before anything happened. But sadly, we know that not all kids are so lucky. And the final point here on the screen is the predator is always available for your kids. They will say things like, you can message me anytime. I'm here for you any hour of the day. And this is another reason why we recommend not allowing devices in the bedroom at night. It's the perfect time for a predator to reach out to your kid. So in summary of this part, really the main trait that a predator looks for is vulnerability. And that could really be any of our kids because, well, they're kids. So how can you make a difference as a parent or someone that cares for a person? How do you get the conversation started? There are three main principles that I recommend when talking about technology with your kids. Talk openly, talk often, and talk with love. It's important to talk openly about dangers online in a way that is age appropriate. So if you have kids that are different ages, you might have to sit with them individually and have age appropriate conversations. Issues like sexting and pornography are going to come up if your child has a cell phone. So help your child to navigate these issues by creating an open environment where your child feels that they can talk to you. So have a plan. Just like you would tell your child what to do if they are approached by a stranger at the park, have a plan for what they should do if they're solicited by a stranger online, or if they're sent an inappropriate photo, or asked to sext, or asked to do something online that makes them uncomfortable. And parents, I know that this can be a difficult subject to talk to with your kids, but your kids have YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Google search, and they're available 24/7. So, it's better that you be the teacher instead of the internet. The second rule is to talk about these issues often. So this is not a one and done conversation. These are a series of frequent, regular conversations with your child. You see, the maturity level of your kid today will not be the same in 6 months. The app that they're using right now, they could be done with, and in 6 months, they're into something else. And you can be sure that a year from now, there'll be some new social media app that's all the craze and everybody is using. But really, no matter what app comes along, no matter what new dangers are presented, if you talk honestly and openly with your kids, you will make a difference. In my household, where I'm a single parent, my 10-year-old does not have a cell phone, but the kid that he sits next to on the school bus does. And his older cousin has a cell phone. So I regularly ask my son, what kind of games do you play with the kid on the bus? What kind of videos do you watch? I ask him if you've seen anything that makes him uncomfortable, that shows that I'm interested in what he's doing online. I'm concerned about what he sees online. And it also gets him used to mom asking these questions and being involved. And the final rule is to talk with love. If you find out that your child has been breaking technology rules at home, for example, if your child has been looking at pornography or talking with a stranger online, your first reaction might be to take away their device, and I understand that. But really, I think it's more productive to talk about these issues and create a space of trust where your kids feel comfortable to come to you when they are having problems online. Just like you would want them to come to you if they were being sexually abused or bullied, you want them to come to you when you have issues online. And we have to remember that kids are going to make mistakes online. They're going to do things online that later they regret. So have compassion for them, help them to make better choices. But you can only do this if you're working on creating a safe space of trust and a good environment with them. So the other thing that's important when you're having a conversation is to talk with your spouse or any other adults in the house regarding technology. So it's important to be on the same page with adults in the household about rules and consequences. And this includes adults that might frequently watch your child, like a babysitter. Such in my case, grandma spends a lot of time with my son. So I had a conversation with my mom about what's allowed regarding technology, including I had to ask her not to give my son her cell phone and let him use any app or surf the internet. So I have listed here on the screen some things to consider when establishing rules in the house. Now remember, just like you have rules where your kids put their shoes, rules for making the bed, doing their chores or homework, there are rules about technology that need to be followed that are very important. I'm not going to read these, but I want to draw your attention to one of them. To protect your kids, I would not allow them to download apps without your permission. I would password protect that feature. And if you're uncertain if an app is safe for your child, download it to your phone first and use it for a few weeks to determine if it's appropriate for your child. And the same with consequences. Communicate ahead of time with your child what the expectation is, what the consequences are for breaking rules regarding technology. So when you're ready to have the conversation, tell your child what you want to talk about. Make sure there aren't distractions. Turn off the TV. Neither you or the child should be on your own cell phone. Setting the stage for this conversation lets them know what you're going to talk about and that it deserves your full attention and their full attention. And remember, this doesn't have to be a long conversation. 10 or 15 minutes is enough because these will be frequent, regular conversations. So one of the things that it's important to find out is what activities your kids are actually doing online. What are their favorite apps? What are their favorite videos? What people are they following? And if you don't know, it's time to find out. Now consider that your child might not tell you everything for fear that you will take away their device. So you must be a loving and persistent detective. Many teens admit hiding things that they're doing online or people that they're talking to because they're afraid their device will be taken away. But I do have a tip for to make this a little bit easier. One good first step is to get involved with your child's online life is to create what I call side-by-side time. Have a set time to participate in digital activities together with your child. Tell your child that you'd like to sit with them and do some of their favorite online activities. If your child enjoys watching videos of other kids playing videos, then do that. If they have a favorite app or like to watch videos on TikTok, then do that with them. Sit with them and participate in the activity. Now, don't complain about their choice of activity, even if it's something that is not of interest to you. Unless what they've chosen is something inappropriate or offensive, but then you can make it a teaching moment. Don't be on your own device during this time, but instead give your full attention to them and the online activity. I think you'll be surprised that side-by-side time opens up conversations about why they like certain activities, who they're playing games with, and importantly, it gives you a chance to talk about appropriate behavior online. With my son, I ask questions like, who's that person playing in the game with you? And usually he'll say, oh, just another player. And then I ask, well, is it a kid? And he'll say, yeah, that kid always plays. So then I ask another question. Well, how do you know it's a kid and not an adult? So my questions are there to help my son to think critically about the people that he's interacting with online, because they may not always be who they seem they are, and to not take things at face value. remember that you as the parent are their number one teacher. So I recommend side-by-side time every week. So let's talk briefly about some parental controls. It's time to take back some control and be the parent. So I recommend setting up parental controls on your home internet. There are great routers that block illegal and inappropriate content. Set up parental controls on all your child's devices, even on your device, on YouTube and all the apps that they're using. There are even apps that you can sign up for that monitor your child's device and alert you if your child is in danger. So for example, if they are messaging about suicide or drugs or visiting pornographic sites, or if a stranger is making strange comments to them, it will alert the parent. And at the end of the presentation, I'll give you my information so you can get more resources on this. And then again, no devices in the bedroom at night and no devices in the bathroom. So I want to look now at social media, because social media plays a big role in sexual exploitation, and predators use it widely. So Snapchat is a very popular app with teens, featuring disappearing pictures and videos. Over 3 billion snaps are exchanged every single day. And the secretive nature of this app encourages young people to take some risks that they may not normally take. And most importantly, it allows predators to hide, and their pictures and their comments can disappear, and it makes it very difficult for law enforcement to investigate. So there was a story in Rockwell County, Texas, of 26-year-old Taylor Kraft. He used a fraudulent Snapchat account posing as a female to gain trust of his female victims. He would later coerce his young victims to obtain nude or partially nude photos of them. And he would use his fake alias to text his victims to come outside at night while their parents were sleeping in the house. So Kraft would drive up, and he told the victims that he was a friend of the person that they had been texting and convince them to get in his car. Then he would pressure the victims to have sex with him. And if the victims refused his sexual advances, Kraft would threaten to publicly expose any previously obtained illicit photos of the girls. This is known as sextortion. The ages of the girls were grades 8 to 11. And thank goodness, after a 3-month investigation, Kraft was arrested and sentenced to 35 years in prison by a Rockwell County judge. Now, I share this story because this is a very common strategy that online sexual predators will use. Once they establish that relationship online using a fake alias, they will coerce their victims to obtain sexually explicit photos. And then many times it escalates to an in-person meeting. So predators online can also be drug dealers that prey on kids to exploit the kids. And in this story, 16-year-old Sammy from California was contacted by a drug dealer through Snapchat. And Sammy purchased what he thought was a prescription drug. And using the Snap Map, is a location feature inside Snapchat, the drug dealer came to Sammy's house. Sammy did not know the prescription drug was laced with lethal amounts of fentanyl, and he died in his bedroom from the overdose. I encourage you to read more about this story online. The family has opened up and shared about the tragedy and really hopes that no more kids will die this way. And the last story that I'm going to share with you, you may have heard about. I'm going to warn you, it's a very disturbing story. It's John Doe versus Twitter. It's a case that's being heard in California right now this summer. John Doe is the survivor. His real name is hidden to protect his identity. And I share this particular story with you to demonstrate how images shared online never go away, and they can have lifelong effects. So 13-year-old John Doe from Florida started communicating via Snapchat with someone that he thought was a peer. And after successfully grooming John Doe, the predator blackmailed John Doe into creating sexually graphic images and videos of himself and sending them through Snapchat. Now, some of the images included John Doe having sex with another minor boy. After a period of time, John Doe eventually broke free from the abuse, and he hoped that he could continue his life and recover from the traumatic experience. But unfortunately, the story does not end there. 3 years later, John Doe is now 16 years old, and it was discovered that these graphic images had been edited into a compilation video, and they were now posted on Twitter. John Doe posted online that he was suicidal, and someone alerted his mother. After learning what happened, the mom got involved and helped her son to contact Twitter to have the videos removed. Now, according to the complaint, John Doe versus Twitter, Twitter responded that the videos did not violate their policy and would not be removed. But clearly the videos were child sexual abuse material, also known as child pornography, and violated federal law. Now, the family's pastor got involved. He had a friend at the US Department of Homeland Security who contacted Twitter, and finally the images were removed, but not before the videos had been seen over 167,000 times. Now, obviously, an event like this will cause severe emotional trauma by the abuse and the large-scale circulation of the material. And even though the images have now been removed by Twitter after 3 months of requesting them to be removed, there's no way to know if those images will resurface someplace else. So survivors of sex trafficking report that having their images circulated online like this is like reliving the trauma over and over, because they have no way of knowing who's watching it or where it's being posted. So as I wrap up, I want to leave you with something positive. I hope that you understand the gravity of the internet and its potential impact on children. And it's going to take your effort, your part to keep them safe, but you can make a difference. And this is a quote by Jane D. Hull, who is well respected amongst educators. At the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement of parents. And I want to amend this quote just a little bit to not only include parents, but caregivers, trusted adults, and many of the people that are on this conference right now. So your role and your consistent involvement is extremely important to protect our kids from dangers online. So I invite you to continue the conversation with us. You're welcome to join my Facebook group, where I'll post updates to a lot of the information that you have. We're always creating new materials that are helpful for parents to really keep kids safe. So I know that we're going to allow some time for questions, but if there's something in today's presentation that has impacted you or that has benefited you so to help your own family be safer online, I'd love to get that feedback, and you can put that in the chat. So now, Estefania, if there's any questions, happy to take some questions.
Well, I'm reading here the chat, and please, if someone has a question, just write it down and I can ask Lynette. If not, I have a question, Lynette, actually. What would you suggest to parents that have children, especially on the teenage years? You know, they sometimes give like a one-syllable answer when you ask them something. What do you recommend for them?
Yeah, once they get into those teenage years, it definitely gets more complicated. You know, first of all, I'd say if you have already a good relationship with them, really letting them know. If you haven't before now, if you haven't really talked about these issues until now, it's never too late to start. But again, I recommend really sitting down with them, letting them know this is a serious conversation, that you really want to be involved, that you are concerned, and for the reasons that you're concerned. and that you want to trust what they're doing online. It's not a matter so much of even trusting your child, because sure, there's a lot of great kids that make good decisions, but do you trust the internet? Do you trust the apps that have a lot of this illegal content? Do you trust the predators? No. And since you can't be there necessarily monitoring everything that they're doing, you have to rely on your conversations with them, this like really open communication. And then there are some monitoring apps that will alert you, if your child is in danger. But it's a challenge, but you have to kind of just work at it and pick away at it, because it's better to do it now than if something happens.
Okay, we're receiving now questions. Thanks, Lynette. We're receiving plenty of questions. I'm gonna start with Isabella. She says, hi, I am a first-year student at Cal Poly Pomona studying computer science. Thank you for this informative conference. I noticed that the police is doing a lot of effort to take down human traffickers, which is great, but I have noticed that I do not hear much about what law enforcement does in preventing online predators. The prevention sounds like it's on the civilians' end. I recently read an article about an activist from San Diego who exposes online predators. I have never heard of this group until I saw the news article. I have yet to watch their videos, but I did visit their website. I was wondering, do you think this kind of activism, where they simply want to raise community awareness and push to strengthen laws against online predators, is effective in the fight towards online safety?
Alma, do we have anybody from law enforcement that's on the line with us that would like to comment? If not, I can. Nobody. Isabella, very good point. I have some resources that I certainly can send you. So there are several organizations. They're not necessarily law enforcement, but they work with law enforcement. So NCOSE is one of them. NCOSE is the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. There's another organization called Enough is Enough. And they've developed technology that's free to law enforcement to help track down some of these online predators, because we want to try and stop it before it happens, instead of having to deal with the victim and the survivor after something has happened. And so there's actually been a lot of progress made over the last few years on technology that can actually identify computers and identify child sexual abuse content that's being shared online. So I'm happy to share some of those resources with you if you join me on my Facebook group, or you can email me.
Okay, thank you, Lynette. We're receiving lots of questions right now. Do victims of human trafficking self-identify as a victim of crime and ask for help immediately?
Alma, do you want to take that one?
I'm sorry. Usually the victim don't see themselves like a victims. Usually who been working in getting the confidence of the victim, usually that person have control of the victim, and they make them believe, then they ask for that, then they are part of that, and then they tell them, then if they ever report something, they're the ones who are going to jail. They're the ones who's going to pay the consequences, or somebody close to them. Then in our experience, when the girls, the women, when they come to our services, that's what they express. They said, then I was afraid to talk because I've been told then I'm the one in trouble, because I'm the one who allowed things to happen. Then they had a lot of guiltiness, and also they develop the Stockholm syndrome, where they get that attachment to the predator. Then it's very difficult. It takes time, and this is why it's important they receive treatment. From any organization or doctors. It's in San Diego, in the region of San Diego, is a lot of organizations that provide services. They can also call us. We provide services direct in San Diego and in Mexico.
Oh, Thanks, Alma. I think the next question, yeah, it is for Lynette. What monitoring apps do you recommend?
Okay, well, there's a couple. One of them is named Bark, B-A-R-K, like the bark of a dog, that is the name of it. What I like about that one in particular, it's not free and I don't gain anything for telling you this, but what I like about that one is it alerts when the child is in danger. So it's not going to tell you everything that the child is texting because that's private. You know, they need to have a certain level of privacy with their friends. But it has developed an algorithm that looks for certain words that would indicate suicidal thoughts, self-harm, drugs, or online predators. So I recommend that. And then the other thing that I recommend is that if you're not sure what age you should give your child their first cell phone because of so much potential danger, there are a couple of cell phones that they look like a real cell phone, but they don't have access to the internet. So the kids will look like they have a phone like all their friends, but it doesn't have all that access. And you can look that up. One of them is called Gab, G-A-B-B. That's one of them. But there's a couple others that are brand new on the market.
Great. Another question would be, what agency do we report online predators to?
Well, the cyber tip line, is probably, I'll put it in the chat, the exact link, okay? But the cyber tip line is a great place to report any type of suspected online predators.
Okay, I have another one. A few years ago, I heard about how to stop explicit websites from showing up in Google Chrome. I have a new computer, but can't find the setting page on Chrome anymore. Do you know how to do this?
In Google Chrome to limit explicit pages. Yes, I would have to look off the top of my head. I can't tell you right now on this call, but if you want to contact me, I'm happy to help you.
Sure. My name is Cheryl Swing Jones, and I'm a community partnership prosecutor with the San Diego District Attorney's Office, and I present on this topic often. Are you willing to share this PowerPoint?
Hi, Cheryl. Yes, I'm happy to get in touch with you after this. Thank you for the question.
Okay, so that's it. That's the last question we have. Okay, I have another one. I'm a tech professional and I work with law enforcement for over 20 years. The first call you make to report online crime is to call your local police department. Well, that was not a question, but yeah, good comment. Thank you so much, Renan Ramirez. And I don't know how much time do we have? Could we still follow up on some other questions? We can wait for some more. Just write it on the chat and I'm glad that you can ask Lynette.
Thank you. Yeah, we can spend another 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
Either they can text or if they want to raise their hand and we can open the microphone. This is the time. Thank you.
Oh, how do we contact you, Lynette?
You know what? Let me put some of these things in the chat here, okay?
Also, Estefania, if you want to mention about the next conference in Spanish, some people.
Oh, sure. It's going to be next Monday. Let me give you all the details. It's going to be next Monday at 6 o'clock. And we're going to have some speakers from the DA's office, also the representation of the DA's office, but here in Baja California. It's going to be this next Monday at 6 o'clock. And it's going to be, this one is going to be in Spanish. So you don't have to miss it. Let me give you all the details. Actually, in the social media of the International Network of Hearts or Red Binacional de Corazones, you could find all the details. They made a good flyer. Also, the District Attorney's Office is sharing it. It's going to be August 2, the 2nd, 6:30 p.m. And it's on the same topic, how to protect kids from the dangers on the internet. Aprende a proteger a los niños de los peligros en el internet, también en conmemoración del Día de la Trata de Personas. And it's going to be through the same platform, Zoom, and also we're going to be through CUT Universidad, the International Network of Hearts. And also if you want to contact Alma Tucker, if someone that is reading this, maybe we can have a victim here, Alma. I remember last conference we had some we had several victims here that were on this conference and they reached out to you afterwards. So please don't hesitate. You can email Alma. Alma, what email or phone number they can contact you?
Sure, I just in the chat is Alma. What is that noise? Alma at inhearts.org. Again, Alma at inhearts.org. Also, direct on Facebook, they can send us a message through Facebook or Instagram, International Network of Hearts, and Facebook and Instagram. Please give us a like.
Okay, so Lynette already shared her contact information. Email Lynette at don'tclickconsulting.com, and the website that we're asking for, right, Lynette? It's report.cybertip.org to report a suspected online predator. And we have another question right here from David. What types of industries are involved with human trafficking? Maybe Alma, you can respond to that question.
Yeah, we're usually we've been receiving reports is from like massage places. That's an area that is very common to have a victims. Then they're forced into work in those places. It's a lot of also labor exploitation in farms and ranch. It's more difficult to identify them because many people come to these areas trying to look for better life, sometimes from another countries. But once they're here, they think they don't have any rights. Then if they don't pay them right or they keep their documents, they keep it quiet because they've been told then if they say something, Border Patrol can send them back to their own country. Then it's very common in those areas too. But right now, then the pandemic is going so strong. Yeah, most of the predators are looking for victims through the social media, as we hear today. Then any place can happen. Before we said, well, this is happening, you know, in specific areas of the city, well known, like El Cajon is well known for human trafficking is one area, but now it's everywhere. Can be your neighbor's home, can be in places that you don't imagine. Then this is why we always said, keeping your eyes open for signs, like if it's a place and a lot of men's come in and out, and you know the girls lives there, or if some girls in your own place are staying in their bedroom locked for many long hours, watch for those signs, signs of addictions, change moods from no reason. From one day girls are fine or boys, and then they change their moods with no reasons. Then keep your eyes and your ears open for signs like that, and don't doubt to call us. We can give you more specific signs and ways to communicate with potential victims.
Great, thank you, Alma. We just received a powerful testimony. I think a minute ago, someone asked if the victims identify themselves as victims. And now we have a testimony that says, as a victim of child sex trafficking myself, in answer to a question above, no, most victims will not ask for help immediately due to trust issues, shame issues, and many, many other factors. Even when I try to get help, I was sent back to my predators and suffered great consequences. It's critical to listen to victims and accept their truth to gain trust, and the first step to helping them help themselves as well. Hope that helps. Andy Berger from Voices Against Trafficking founder. Thank you so much for sharing this information with us.
Thank you so much. She's a brave advocate, and thank you for being here today. It's an honor to have you, Andy. Thank you. And Blanquita is here too. Voices Against Trafficking. No, thank you so much. I want to thank everybody. Again, the General Consul of Mexico in San Diego, the District Attorney, Stephanie Summers. Thank you so much. Everybody who was putting so much effort in the university, Good University, and for you, Stephanie. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lynette. Thank you, everybody. And please join us in this fight against human trafficking.